Okay, from the steamy practice fields outside of Gillette Stadium, I have cooled off a little bit. Simmered, to use a word, our next guest would love, because he tells this to our pal Mike Reese basically every day to get that pep out of his step, to stop skipping around, smiling so much, and dropping Richard Marx references. Anyway, this is Mike Giardi, in case you couldn't tell by the tone and the teasing right off the top on the Pats and Affairs podcast, part of the avuncular CLNS Media Network. Today was a great day for the Patriots.
But there's also an All 32 podcast today as well.
Okay, very good.
There was an executive decision made about that. But continue. I didn't want to interrupt you. You're on a roll.
Well, I will tell you that, you were just telling me that your daughter complained about your audio, and you're coming in a little hot there, which maybe we should have done pre-production, but I'll give you time to calm down, as I also consider the fact that the Boston Herald office, where I am currently in the New Balance Athletic Center, which I think I got right for the first time saying that. Basically, Patriots HQ.
Yes.
Again, day one of training camp, Jesus. Joint practices is over. There is an elevator behind me. If you do hear beeping, it is just someone going up and down who may or may not pop into this office. So you are at home. You are going to go do TV in a little bit. And I imagine we're going to talk a lot about Drake Maye and the Eagles and who won and this and that, things we all just wrote about and are now podcasting about. For a second, I don't care about who won because I already declared that in my 2-minute recap. What I care about is the most important thing that you saw today. This could be big, small, but as we learn more about this team and it learns more about itself, that thing was what?
So I was not primarily, my job was defense today. I was locked in on defense just as I was last week against the Colts. And I continue to remain concerned about the state of their run defense. And, we talked this past week a lot with Josh McDaniels and Mike Vrabel and Reggie Gilliam about how do you really know if your run game is going well? And especially this time of year where you're not trying to put guys on the ground and running backs can't be physical. Well, it does amp up in joint practices. And just as it was against the Colts last week, there were a lot of big gaping holes, chasms, whatever, for Saquon Barkley and Tank Bigsby and Will Shipley to run through. And I'm not talking about the 2s and the 3s, because not that you can't do that on your own time, but we're talking about the meat and potatoes, the guys that are really important. And for a second week in a row, I just thought there was way too much running room. There were a couple plays where Saquon Barkley would still be running if they didn't blow the whistle. So that's something that's going to have to be fixed, because today, unlike last week, a little bit more healthy up front, right? More of their bodies, rotating Christian Barmore in there, more on third downs, but I saw him a few times on running plays. Christian Ellis and Gonzo were the two that obviously Gonzo didn't practice at all, and Christian Ellis was sort of spot duty in this one.
And look, they ended on the best note possible, right?
100%.
That starting defense forces Philly, first of all, into a 4th and long, which they do convert in a deep out route against Carlton Davis. But they got to midfield with too little time left, and then that time ran out, and you shut them out. That's the goal. The issue with that is it ignores the fact that Jalen Hurts was without Devonta Smith, was without Mekhi Lemon, 2 of his top 3 at worst receivers. And in that situation, it's pass only. When they're in 11 on 11s like the one that you just studied, and you are running the ball, the defense cannot bank entirely on the fact this is going to be a pass, blitz, pin their ears back, pick however way you want to describe it. And that inability to get them in a situation like that, which of course this is all simulated, is foundational to what they're going to be able to do in the regular season, because very often with the lead and how good they were against the run in the first half of the season, that's all they did was put teams in 3rd and long, put them behind on the scoreboard, and then blitz, pin their ears back, etc. So I'm with you. I do think it will get better, because I trust the tackling of this team over time. Again, we all remember the Miami game. Mike Vrabel referenced that, by the way. And then you all reported about it, and we knew about it. Then we fixed it.
We did.
We're not holding on to that one, Mike.
He holds no grudges.
But, the counter to the dose of realism or pessimism, if you will, of this run defense just might not be good is, okay, if you're making a list of the 10 best run blocking offensive lines in football, I don't care what order you put them in, but you're going to include the Colts and the Eagles.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question. But so I'll look at this, and you're talking about, as we were talking about what it looked like in 7-on-7s and all these different things, and they had 5 interceptions and all that. But again, 7-on-7s, we chart it, it's fun, but how much does it really mean? Hurts before the 1-minute drill, because they put 105 on the clock when the Patriots locked them up there. He was 7 of 9 in 11-on-11s, including a deep bomb to Hollywood Brown over Kevin Byard and a cornerback who I could not see. I don't know if it was Charles Woods, whomever. It was
That corner was so far out of the picture. I was shocked that there was a corner and Kevin Byard didn't
exactly. And Byard may have been covering someone's behind there, but
it looked like a fly ball that went to left center, and Byard was the center fielder. And I'm like, oh, he's going to overrule Hollywood Brown and kind of call him off, and he'll get under there and catch it. And no, Hollywood Brown somehow both slows up and still catches it in front of Kevin Byard. Very strange deep ball.
Yeah, so you had that 7 of 9, and then in those periods of 11 on 11 before the 1 minute drill, I counted 12 runs with Saquon, Bigsby, Bigsby, and 6 of them were, let's call them 5 yards plus. And like I said, a couple of them, he's probably taking 20 plus yard runs. That's not great. And again, they're manufacturing things in different situations and whatnot, but it just speaks to, I think we talked about this last week, sort of the idea of missing Kairos Tonga and sort of feeling that for the first time, maybe all the course of the offseason. I mean, you missed him because you loved him, but like against the Colts, you're like, you know what they miss right now? They miss that 340-ish pound guy in the middle who was really quick and lateral quickness and get up the field and like give you a pass rush, but also could be pretty good against the run. And it's why I think, Andrew, like Daquan Jones was in for a visit on Tuesday. Daquan Jones played a lot of snaps for the Bills over the last few years, including a ton last season. Probably overworked him last year, but that was the state of their defensive line. And yet he was still pretty good. He's almost 35 now. So, you know, how much tread is left on the tires, but he was their best defensive player in the playoff loss to Denver, played really well. So that's a good player. And I think there's a reason they're kicking the tires on it, because I think they're looking at their interior going, we might need something else there beyond the collection of Joshua Farmer and Eric Gregory, that sort. We might need an upgrade in that spot.
First of all, there's nothing wrong with being 35 or close to it. Second of all, I don't think we can do much more run defense unless we hit on Drake Maye for a second, because we'll do our winners and losers and you can bring up some of that run defense. Drake Maye in 11 on 11s was 15 of 18 with one very obvious sack. You could quibble about one or two other plays, in particular, what I call it the play of the day, an A.J. Brown catch along the sideline where Maye is about to have, I can't remember, it was their first round pick at Alabama, linebacker.
Campbell.
Yes. Jahad Campbell in his lap. And Campbell is like U-turning as Maye releases the ball, which tells me he probably would have had his face mask in his chest plate. Anyway, Maye gets the ball off, and it goes to Brown, who adjusts along the sideline, taps his right foot twice inbounds, and comes down with it. The ref ruled it a catch. Whether you watch the video on Twitter or make your own decision, it's up to you. But the fact that he started around that opening, Zach, with 12 straight completions against corners that include all pros in Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean and Reek Woolen, the guy on the other side, who will see A.J. Brown in his nightmares tonight at the hotel, wherever that hotel is, says a lot about things that you suggested. And I've wondered, is A.J. Brown holding back a little? Is he pacing himself? The answer to that in big neon letters flashing is yes, because the day that A.J. Brown turns it on, he turns it on more than we've seen from him any day in training camp, which doesn't mean he's being lazy. It's just to say that the day you expect him to be at his best was the best we've seen from him in a Patriots uniform, a true number one receiver who looked faster, looked stronger, and more dynamic after the catch, and not to mention caught all 7 targets, including 7-on-7s. I don't know what more you could ask, but whatever that is more than being a number one receiver, because that's exactly what he was today.
Yeah, I would agree completely. And we have wondered, and we've talked about it. I said I wasn't even getting agitated by it or irritated by some of the plays where you're looking at him going, he's not fully engaged in this rep because the ball's going to the other side. And I'm like, he's year 8 in the league. He knows how to pace himself. They talked about managing him. Remember, Vrabel said, straight up, we're going to have to manage him. They haven't really managed him very much during training camp. He has been out there every day. He's been participating, and maybe he has had some quiet days, and maybe that's sort of the, hey, AJ, there's a couple plays here where we're going to go this side, and if you don't want to go full out, we can look the other way on it. But today, you're right. And I think like the first rep, which is the rep that immediately caught fire on social media, the one-on-one rep as I wrote for Boston Sports Journal, standing ovation for both Nick Sirianni and Mike Vrabel. They gave the 12,000 plus people and the 2,000 plus media members, most of them from Philly, exactly what they wanted today. The very first rep in competitive period, those two going against each other. And the way he exploded off the line of scrimmage was not something that we've seen very often. And yeah, I know he didn't make the catch. He put one hand on it, didn't get the other hand. Did say he was interfered with. You can see some tugging there from Mitchell. Well, I give Mitchell credit for he was beat and got back into phase pretty quickly. But that's what you're talking about. That's what you're looking for. That's what you gave up a first and a fifth round pick for. That's who you're paying whatever, $30 million this year. That's the guy that you're going to have to give some kind of contract bump to next year. Like, that's the guy. And that was encouraging for sure. Like, definitely gave you a little juice to the day.
Well, and again, one of the things I said about success for Drake Maye this summer is not going to be the numbers that you keep or I keep or Phil keeps or Doug does on the Hill that, most of us tweet out about 11 on 11s. He had a really low, by training camp standards, completion percentage last summer, and then had the most accurate season in modern NFL history by expected completion percentage. It was 71% by the old metric. I wanted to see this connection and this chemistry with A.J. Brown. You've gotten it now. And the more recent practices mean more, not just because we're closer to the real football, but over time you're going to see water find its level. Meaning like Kayshon Boutte is the best receiver in the world through day 4 of training camp.
Yeah.
We haven't heard a lot from Kayshon lately. Not because he's been bad, but he's been the level of good that he actually is. A.J. Brown lately, Romeo Doubs lately, guys who are paid to be number 1 and number 2 receivers are producing like number 1 and number 2 receivers, especially guys in a new offense, which A.J. Brown said today, by the way, 100%.
Yep.
I'm good. End quote. Another beautiful short quote. Have you spoken with Jalen Hurts, by the way? No.
You're waiting for the elaboration? No elaboration. I also like the follow-up. Well, what do you figure? I mean, I suppose if you run into each other, yeah, sure. Sure. Like I could see him and I'm going to turn the other way, or maybe he's going to turn the other way.
Not if we run into each other, if our paths run across one another. Like the fates push us close enough. If I'm in the elevator, sure. If I can't get off right away, sure. Stairwell, I'll take a peek first.
Yeah. Is it too far down?
But I mean, anyway, because Drake Maye and their connection, I just want to zoom out and do all of Drake Maye's day, and then we'll move on to winners and losers. This is his whole 11 on 11s. And I'm listing this off because A, I want everyone to know what happened. B, the context for the types of passes that he hit, play action, standard dropbacks, short, intermediate, long, on the move, etc. It's all here, baby. And a lot of them, most of them, or the highest individual number for a receiver, go to A.J. Brown. So he opens with a play action completion to Demario Douglas, basically on an over route. Okay, that gains at least 15 yards. The next thing that happens is they go tempo. And I've just been talking about this since the start of camp and asking guys about it. People are sick of it. Too bad. Here it comes. Next one is a little hitch to Kyle Williams. So Kyle Williams gets his token pass from Drake Maye. Then an over route, a real over route, a deep one from Maye to A.J. Brown. This pass goes right on the money. Lots of yak, which you love to see. Hits Ramondre Stevenson on a swing pass, slant completion to Romeo Doubs, scrambles, takes a would-be sack, then rips completions on an out route to Efton Chisholm, and Kayshon Boutte running a comeback against Quinyon Mitchell, who I think allowed at least 3 catches in these 11 on 11s, including to Brown. So he goes 7 of 7 to start. Stevenson on a swing pass, A.J. Brown on a slant, an answered prayer to Brown along the right sideline over Requel, and again, 20 yards, and he's just throwing it up against pressure, but like an intentional jump ball, go get it. Another jump ball to Doubs, this one over, like mossing, plucking out of the hands, like you're taking something away from your infant as they're walking away with you that they shouldn't have, takes it out of Mitchell's hands, a jump ball along the left sideline, slant throw to Brown, incompletion. This is dropped by Doubs behind him. You know this is the 2-minute drill. He finds Demario Douglas against Cooper DeJean, all-pro nickelback Cooper DeJean, underthrows Stevenson on a vertical coming out of the backfield, in cut by Matt Collins, misfire for Douglas, who was then blanketed by Cooper DeJean, and then 15 seconds left, quick out to Hunter Henry. Clock's running. Here comes the field goal unit, which has 12 seconds to get onto the field, get organized, watch Andy Borregales do the 1-2-3, 1-2-3 over, and then come in and swing for the field goal. From 52 yards away, they snap that ball with 1 second left. It goes through. If it missed, we might be talking differently about Drake Maye, which is silly considering he's not even on the field there. But the point is, they completed the 2-minute drill, and he was spectacular. And against a defense like this, which, by the way, you did not hear me mention much pressure from Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Jalix Hunt, who gave Will Campbell some problems, especially at one-on-one pass rush. Everybody was good, but it starts obviously with me.
Yeah, and it's funny because I don't know if it's the summer doldrums, the dog days. Like, he hadn't been bad. He just hadn't been like boom popping. And today was a as you said, it was a real pop for him. And when the competition ramps up like that, that's exactly what you want to see. I love what's happening. We spent a lot of time just talking about AJ Brown, but I love what's happening with Romeo Doubs. It's like they found a different level and a different switch. Yeah. And there's a great deal of confidence there that did not exist throughout the spring and well into the summer. But this last week has been a whole different ballgame. So now all of a sudden you're going, he feels comfortable throwing to Doubs. He definitely felt more comfortable throwing to Pop. I think Pop historically does awesome in August, but like there's definitely a better it feels like there's just a better connection this year. Hunter, he's obviously very familiar, very comfortable with. Like now you're throwing AJ into the mix, and it's like, good luck. We're talking about an offense that was a top 5 offense last year, and if the offensive line can do what it did today, protect the way you're talking about, and that probably is as big a story as any today in the 11-on-11s, is keeping him clean from the likes of Jalen Carter and Jonathan Davis, whatever his first name is. Jordan, thank you. By the way, enormous human being. Like they just shouldn't be that big. But like obviously that's an outstanding group, and they were quiet, and that says a lot, because if that group pass protects like that, give me the overs on a lot of different things for Drake Maye in the offense.
And look, you might find Philly writers. In fact, I would not be surprised if they had Maye down for 3 sacks. Again, you want to count the one to Brown. I think he would have been hit as you released it. Maybe that results in an incompletion. The ball goes wayward, whatever. But it would not be more than 3. There was definitely one. We could split the difference in 2. The bottom line is, even 3 sacks, given the front that they were facing in that small of a sample, just not that upset about, because you just think they're that overmatched from the get-go, and they weren't. And I mentioned Will Campbell. Well, let's stop here because we should take a break. And some of the guys we're talking about are in my winners, and we'll cover it there.
Perfect.
All right, we're almost there. Patriots Seahawks season opener. In the meantime, preseason football, baseball, the WNBA, and whatever you're watching as we all wait for kickoff, week 1 in Seattle. You got to jump on Prize Picks. And now is better than ever to jump on Prize Picks if you're new, because if you download the app today, you will get $150 instantly in lineups if you win your first $5 lineup. And here's how it works. You pick players who come with stats. You go more or you get less than that stat. And sometimes you can even tweak the number. If you don't like player numbers and stats, fine. You can go winners or totals or spreads, all at Prize Picks, America's #1 sports pick app. We're doing picks on the Pass Interference podcast for every Patriots preseason game and regular season game. So you can ride with my picks, you can fade them, you can show me you know better, or Efton Chisholm's going to go off it, or actually be Romeo Doubs, whoever it is, you can make your picks over at Prize Picks. And if you sign up now, again, this is the deal. Download the app today, use code CLNS to get $150 instantly in lineups if you win your first $5 lineup. One more time. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $150 instantly in lineups if you win your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, America's #1 sports pick app. All right, our picks this week. You ready for this? It's a kicker special. Preseason game Saturday. This is just for you, buddy. Andy Borregales, more than 1.5 field goals. They're not getting a repeat of last Thursday against the Colts. And Jake Elliott, more than 1.5 extra points. Because I'm sorry. The Eagles are going to score a couple of touchdowns against Patriots defensive backups. If you're going, just prepare and enjoy with our Prize Picks picks of the week.
I'm not going to argue with you. You know how I feel about kickers, but I'll allow it, at least for this one.
Okay, let me just wrap on the offensive line point, because I have here my charts from one-on-one pass rush, which I don't know if at Boston Sports Journal you're very familiar with, but this is a drill that they run for the linemen. And some of us keep track, others don't. And look, Jared Wilson's a guy who, for me, I'd been a little disappointed in, because I'm just not giving the benefit of changing positions in year 2 of the league when this was his position in college. Last year was the benefit. You're a rookie, you're playing left guard, etc. He's smart. They want him there. They believe in him. Okay. That belief means no benefit of the doubt here. He was 2-0, including at least one rep against Jordan Davis. Mike Onwenu, 2-0. And they're seeing Jalen Carter in there too, like in those 11-on-11s. And even though the best runs came off the left side, keeping Drake Maye clean is more important than giving Ramondre Stevenson, RB1, by the way, we can get to that later, an extra yard or two. So those to me are your early winners. It's like you want to throw in Elijah Vera Tucker, though. He got his butt kicked in 101 pass rush, and it's been a weirdly ongoing trend. Onwenu and Wilson decisively won their reps, really protected May, and given what the expectations were for Wilson, really impressed me. Big winner today.
Would I be wrong in saying that Onwenu might be having the best camp of the group? And I think Will's had a good camp.
Oh, and
I think Vera Tucker has been wildly inconsistent, as you just mentioned. Wilson, I don't know if I'm going to say disappointment, but just fine. Morgan he's not out there every single day, every single rep. And to me, I look at the consistency of Onwenu. Like, we can talk about his weight. He's big, but he's always been big. And maybe he's in a better place this year, coming into the year with this group, than he was last year, where it felt like it took him half the year to sort of get into his normal level of play. And then I think once he got there, I think you and I were having a conversation. He made like a low-key, or not low-key, it was a Pro Bowl type case. Like, maybe he's already getting to that point to start the year, which, that would be a very good thing.
I think you're right. And this is not something that's like overlooked, but he's just steady. And Will Campbell's better, but the losses like today's where Jalix Hunt just two-hand swipe and just went right around Will Campbell. And then Campbell pushed him around the hoop, too far behind the quarterback to be effective. So Will went 1-on-1 in his pass rush. And I had Vera Tucker 1-on-1. Phil had him 0-2, but the second rep was just a tossed out of the club type of loss. Onwenu is not a man you're going to toss because, okay, he's large. He's not an ideal scheme fit, but he's still here. He didn't have any guaranteed money. If they really wanted to move on, they could have, and they haven't. And I think this is the decision that's going to prove to be wise. I think he's been very good. You'd still like to see more push in the run game, but given what the summer has been, Caleb Lowe was definitely not in the conversation. Also went 1-on-1. Morgan Moses lost his only rep in 1-on-1 pass rush to Nolan Smith, who ducked under him and just went. I don't even know if Morgan touched him. Point is, you're right, and I'm glad we're giving him his flowers. Yeah, that was the second half of the season. You said, a little Pro Bowl push.
Yeah.
And I think Dan Pizzuta gave me the very polite, oh yeah, maybe, but definitely not. Anyway, all right. They're my first
impression, by the way.
Yeah, my first. He might be on later this week because I need a recap for Saturday's preseason game. Which, if this practice is any indication, by the way, we are not going to see anybody on Saturday. No. Yeah. Okay.
No, we got Red Zone tomorrow. Like, that's no.
And Red Zone's competitive. This feels. Well, I take that back because I was going to compare it to the joint practices in Minnesota last year, which second day was heavy Red Zone. Might have been the best football J.J. McCarthy's played in his life, now that I remember a tweet that I sent that Vikings fans just printed out and posted all over their rooms. Drake Maye started that next game and played a couple of series in Minnesota. So, anyway, we'll wait and we'll ask for
but new offense, new, like, you're the first year being the guy. Like, it just feels like everything is mapping out to let's get some good work in tomorrow. And if we get good work in tomorrow, you can put your feet up on Saturday.
Yeah. Okay. Give me a winner. Give me a winner.
Milton Williams. He was in the backfield a bunch today. He was the one guy run defense that was like consistently. There are a couple plays where you're like, man, if Milt wasn't there penetrating quickly, like there was something behind it. Like Saquon could have gone someplace that I was talking about earlier, could have ripped off a long run. So that was good to see. He was, pretty fired up to see his old mates. There's a great video that CLNS took of him flipping them off as he came on the field, and it was all in jest. They as he said, we were chopping it up. It's great to see those guys.
Who would ever do that?
No, I don't. That seems so immature to me. I don't know anyone in my life that would do something like that.
Can I tell you, because I've shared this on the show before, I have a friend who came to his first practice at training camp with a buddy of his who has season tickets, and he's like, loosely converted to being a Patriots fan. And so he was in the VIP section. And that particular day was a good day. I said, you should come back for the joint practices. So he did last week. And then he came back today and was a great decision. As I told everyone on the show,
Yeah.
you can make it. This is the closest you're going to be to the team. This is the best like raw football you're going to get. So I watch practice from a higher location in the stadium because they got radio folks up there. And I just like the aerial view to see the far side of the field when they're doing the lineman one-on-ones. So he, being the good, kind friend that he is from the VIP tent, instead of turning to watch the football that he's here for, is just taking pictures of me until he gets a bad one to send to the group chat. There's one of me, like if I knew you were taking pictures, where I'm holding my phone and just flipping the bird to everyone down below. Like it's just the way that I'm holding my phone, and my middle finger is out and none of the other fingers are. And so that, of course, was the one that was sent to the group chat. And I think it's a sticker now. And here we are.
Stay classy, Andrew.
Yes. Anyway, your winner, Milton Williams. Yeah, he so I have notes also from Doug and Zach Cox, who helped we put together the whole big practice recap. 1-1 in one-on-one pass rush. And look, you need it. Like that's not only just because he's one of your highest paid and best players, but he's in the literal middle of everything. So you want your best to show up, and understanding how good that Eagles offensive line is. Forget all the familiarity, because that cuts both ways. Really encouraging, because if he was a loser, you're already worried about the edge. Like you can't afford to give up the middle now too.
Yeah, I think he's just been such a steadying force in the middle, and his quickness is undeniable. But he's a power player. He talks about it all the time. He, by the way, not a huge fan of one-on-ones today. Kind of told us that's not real football, really. I like to see what it looks like when there are bodies around me, because obviously one of the things the Patriots did extremely well last year was play the two-man games, and usually he and Barmore, one of them, was prominently involved in that. But he continues to be everything I think they hoped that he would be when they gave him that big contract last offseason.
All right, loser for me. This is less about what he did. Like, he didn't fumble. He didn't drop a pass. The only guy who did drop a pass, Romeo Doubs, I'm not going to kill because it was, behind him. And, look, a game situation, maybe. I don't know. It wasn't. Do you want to guess how many carries and catches Travion Henderson had with the starting offense today? And I will tell you this. Ramondre Stevenson had 7 carries and 3 targets for 2 catches.
0.
No, come on. Wait, I did this to Zach Cox the other day when he had this great stat about how many teams played start to finish with their starting quarterback last year. I said 5 of the 32. And the answer was 11. And that's a low number. But I did the a-hole guess of going way under, and it spoils the effect of, how about 1? How about 1 handoff for Travion Henderson?
It's the same damn thing.
No, it's not. 0 is 0. 0 is nothing. 1 is 1. And 1
is pretty much nothing. What's closer to nothing than it is to 7?
Anyway, a-hole guess. But I made one last episode, so I'll own mine.
I'm not going to own mine because mine was a legitimate guess. I was closer to it than anybody else.
0
on this program.
You thought Travion Henderson did nothing with the starting offense today?
Yes.
Well, you could join him in the loser bin. Look, there has been, and this is cuts both ways on Twitter, right? Like, we want our information to go as far as possible, right? That's why we're here, to gather it, to chart, to tweet, this and that. Stuff taken without context, I'm not going to say out of context, but without proper context, sometimes goes a lot further than the real stuff. Those are the total numbers from joint practice today. 7 handoffs, 3 targets for Stevenson, 1 of each for Travion Henderson. Any more talk about 50-50 splits, I just don't want to hear about. That's not 50-50. They're treating it like a game. That's what it's going to be. Early down work and 2-minute for Stevenson. When he needs a breather, here comes Henderson, who, look, we're not rooting for him because we're not rooting for anyone. I would like to see the guy with blazing speed find holes a little bit easier. I'd like him to pick up blitzers a little bit better, because that means I get to watch a fun player with blazing speed on the field a lot more. It's just not happening yet. And maybe that changes. But
I think they showed you in the sort of spring and mandatory minicamp that they would like him to, and this is sort of the same way last summer, they want him to be someone who they can put on the field and trust on third downs, because the ability to isolate him, and Josh is smart enough to be able to get him into matchups where you get him on a linebacker, you get him on a safety, and none of them can run with him, right? That's just what you're talking about. But because you still don't trust the pass blocking aspect of this thing and the blitz pickup aspect of this thing. And you look at the guy that's the most important figure in the entire organization in Drake Maye, and we have to do anything we can to protect him. You're loath to make a decision where you put him out there and then something bad happens and you're like, if only we had Ramondre out there, because Ramondre is just sound. And it's been a great, as much as it can be for a team that's not running the ball particularly well, I think it's been a really good camp for him. He's not putting the ball on the ground. He's been very available and open as a pass catcher. You mentioned in one of the incompletions that he was open and Drake underthrew the ball. Like, he's just had when he's had opportunities, he's made the most of his opportunities. You can't say the same about Trevion. And again, this doesn't mean Trevion's not going to have a role in the team. He obviously is. They gave him 180 or so touches last year. Like, the number's probably going to be very similar this year, if not a bump. But like, you gotta start showing it and start stringing it together. And he hasn't.
I just think about last year and coming out of those Vikings joint practices where it was like, okay, the first one was probably a slight Vikings win, but how about Trevion bursting downfield? How about Matt Collins celebrating in the end zone? And like, Brian Flores is throwing all of his dark magic blitzes and pressures at May, and they're a little overwhelmed because he's protected by Will and Jared Wilson. And then Jared Wilson got like a mental breather the next day because of everything that was going on.
I remember, yep.
And Flores left that, one of the best D coordinators, if not the best in football, being like, man, how about 32? Because then he told Devin McCourty in the production meeting, and Devin McCourty tells the world, like a good announcer on the broadcast of the telecast of the game that Saturday. And now here we are with Henderson today, which again, it's just one day. We're not burying the kid, but it's just such a stark contrast. It's not as stark, I will tell you this though. And I meant to look up the lead of my story from the last time the Eagles were in here for joint practices. Because whoo boy, let's talk about a difference in the roster, which was just like, I just wanted to send Drake Maye home with like a big Dairy Queen ice cream that day and just say like, come back when you're ready.
It's okay, kid.
Yeah, it's okay. It's just it was rough. Anyway, that was not today, and they won today, and May was a big reason why. So who is your loser?
So I'm going to put it on Corey Dern. I think we could focus on sort of that group as a whole. I didn't think the edges were particularly effective. Draymond Jones, speaking of someone you'd like to see more from, I'd like to see more from. Elijah Ponder, after all the pomp and circumstance of the spring, has been relatively quiet as well. But to me, some of the stuff inside the tackles, he's a critical guy. And he had a really good year last year. Kind of came out of nowhere, obviously. Part of that rotation, had to play more because of the injuries to Tonga at one point, to Williams at another point, and like got a lot of snaps and had a really good year. And I think they're counting on that player being the same player this year. And in these joint practices, some of these runs have come directly at him where I'm going, man, he got moved pretty easy, and there's more on him because there's no Tonga. So he's got to find a different level and raise it up a little bit in the run game.
And he's been pretty good, at least against the pass this summer.
Yeah.
But he's a different type of 300-plus pounder than our beloved Kyrus. So, and look, Kyrus Tonga had a good pass rushing season last year, but was your prototypical nose before that, and then still maintain those skills as a run defender here in New England. So this might just call for a different use of their personnel with Durden, of like, you just can't plug and play, expect the same things, even though he's big enough to play the nose. It just might not have enough. What do they say? Like sand in his pants, sand in his ass.
Sand in his pants, yeah.
Sand in his pants, yeah.
Not sand in his ass. If he had sand in his ass, that meant he went in the beach and he started rolling around in some sand. He was either bottomless or he just got some down in the old the crack there.
Let me tell you this, Mike Giardi. The wise man at the beach picks up a grain of sand and envisions the entire universe. The stupid man who can't pronounce universe goes to the beach, rolls around in seaweed, stands up and says, "Hey, I'm Vine Man." That is a Jack Handy quote when said properly, an old SNL segment and still close to my heart.
I remember
anyway.
Jack Handy, yep.
Hey, I'm Vine Man. All right, I'll give you, let's see.
You got to give me an up. You gave me a down.
A.J. Brown, we already talked about. Craig Woodson, how about 2 picks?
Yep.
I wrote a story about Kevin Byard over the weekend and, how he's changing how they think and play in the defensive back room. And some of it comes from Al Harris, who played for the Packers and now coaches with the Bears, and how, their secondary coach, Scott Booker, has been talking about takeaways since April. And look, you can't do better in that department than Kevin Byard, who's led the league in interceptions since he was drafted and led the league last year. But today, that was Craig Woodson. And I think this is a huge step for him as a guy who profiles as a skinnier box safety. That's typically where he's going to play. But they drafted in the 4th round and like so much because A, he's super smart. B, he can also play a little bit of man-to-man coverage. And now C, if you add this element of, reading the quarterback, playing a little bit more single high, so that'll be a Byard thing, I think, primarily, in addition to all the quarter stuff and, all the coverages. You're talking about a pretty complete safety, and was the top of my list for a year 2 league.
Yeah, I think he was at mine too. And it's been a little rocky in coverage, but this was a nice little turning point for him today. And he's been one of the guys that has been around the ball a little bit more. And, last year, there were plenty of times I think we would sit here and talk man, he was there. He just didn't make a play on the ball. So, hey, if you can take a couple of those over the course of the 17-week regular season and turn those into turnovers, that can make a big difference, just in the overall, the impact that it can make on a defense. And obviously, anytime you can get the ball to Drake Maye one more time, you want to do that, or get it to him quicker, you want to do that.
All right, give me a winner.
So I had Woodson definitely as one of my winners, and you stole that. Okay, I'll give you, again, limited work today. Christian Barmore showed up a couple times with penetration. We're talking about not getting much push from the edges. That's going to put more on the guys in the interior to get stuff done. Williams had a good day. I thought Barmore, in the limited reps he did, had a good day. Also had I would have called it a sack in the 1 minute drill. So that's good, because it's been, obviously he's just starting to work his way back in after basically 2 weeks on the sidelines.
Yeah, it's hard to know what to expect from him. And I asked him a load management related question afterward, which isn't prying. It was really just about if he appreciates a staff. That the word I keep hearing when I ask about this stuff from players is communication. They just tell you what they've got on you and, how far you've run and what they think you have in the tank. But what do you feel? They're really taking that into account as a real variable when discussing with players their workloads each day. And sometimes it's just I don't have it. Okay, you sit. But if you do have it, you got to do right by us. And you got to give us everything you have. And it's largely worked out. It did not work out for me getting an answer from Christian Barmore, who just said I do whatever they tell me to. Okay, I figured. But it was good to see him play the way that I think you and I wanted to see a little bit more last year and didn't. And you know what, frankly, he brought this up himself, saying I had a lot of pressures and I had a handful of hits last year, but there were plays I didn't make that I could have. And he's really intent, I think, in taking some of those pressures and converting them to sacks, which he should be. The talent is there. And so when he looped around for that sack in the 2 minute drill today, and it was just game over, I was okay, there he is. That's the player that I think they're load managing now, so that they can not save for later, but just get the best out of where last year we know that 10-game stretch with one quarterback hit. You just don't want to have again, because he's really valuable. He's a talented guy.
This is an important year for him too. We've talked a lot about different people and their contracts situations, obviously, and he's someone who there isn't much after this year. So they picked up his money this year. They thought they locked themselves into him this year, but next year they could just say, we're done. So are you still an ascending player? Have you reached your peak, or are you descending for whatever reason? And that's, Belichick used to talk about that all the time, but I think he should be an ascending player. He's still in the prime of his career, but based on some of the disappearing acts last season, I still maintain there's a immaturity there that they tell you he's maturing, and I would tell you that he hasn't. I think that's part of it too, but that's on the table for you. And maybe that's something that motivates him. And maybe that gets him, to go that little extra, or to give you that little bit more that you need, that's in that tank that physically he's capable of. I guess, again, we'll see.
Yeah. I agree. The knee thing is something they manage actively with him. That's just probably going to be a forever thing as far as when he's limited and why. But there's a lot there overall, and I think you hit it well. Loser, Marcus Bryant, who I was, on flowers.com. I was calling 1-800-Flowers and just buying up all of the bouquets after that preseason opener. Just one half of football, and I was ready to bury the man. Not bury in flowers and funeral, but just to say, great job. Here are all your flowers. Here you go. And he played a little left tackle, played a little right tackle. So did Caleb Lomu. But he was much worse in the one-on-one pass rush drill. And when you see DeVito under as much pressure as he was, even in the 2-minute drill, which was really start, stop, go, back, forward, just not as steady. And I think that's what you want from your swing tackle. We're like, hey, man, the bar's not to start. It is just to be viable, like a backup quarterback. Tread water for a few games. If we got to plug you in, we can give you help. But the quarterback, for both of you, it might be play action. It might be some boot stuff. And I don't know if he's steady enough yet, or at least wasn't today. So he was a loser for me.
Yeah, I think the bar you're setting is the Vidarian low bar, right? For 2 years ago, you're like, this guy's terrible. And last year you went in and you're like, for Campbell, and you came out of a lot of games going, didn't really notice him. And that's exactly what you want, in that role. Please, you don't have to be awesome. Just don't get my guy killed. Be steady over there. And he was. So that's an interesting one.
With great arm length, by the way, Vidarian Lowe and Marcus Bryant. Just going to make that note for all the jokes we make about Will Campbell, and I make some myself, but
small hands though.
Okay, keep going.
Well, it's just the facts are the facts.
You want to bring up small hands?
I'm bringing it up to him. He's a nice kid too, by the way. Very amiable fella.
Yeah. I just meant like the self-awareness of you bring up the small hands. I could bring it up to him.
Pause. These paws never dropped a pass, man. Can I give you a loser? Charles Woods.
Yeah.
And I think I'm kind of at the point now where the panic button's right here, but like one of those guys beyond the three, and I'm talking Gonzalez, Davis, Marcus Jones, somebody's got to do something. And they're trying. Prunty had a little push, and then that seemed to fall back. Marcellus Dial had a moment. That's fallen back. Channing Canada, the undrafted free agent, they gave a ton of money to. He's had some moments, and then he's had some not so good moments. And I kind of like him. I'm just going to put that one out there. Kind of like him a little bit, but got to have more consistency. Woods was the guy last year who got plugged in, right? And by all accounts, he was fine. Not great, but just as we were talking about with Marcus Bryant, Vidarian Lowe, just don't be just such an abomination out there that everything changes because you're on the field. And he was okay, whether it was playing on the outside for the reps that Davis missed when he would invariably go out of the game and then return, or whether it was for Marcus in the slot. But not having a good week. Jeromeo Dobbs dunked on him about 47 times over the weekend. And then today was another one of those days where it doesn't look very good. And when we looked at the Eagles and their passing attack, the limitations the quarterback has, the fact that Devonta Smith wasn't out there all that often, Mekhi Lemon's not out there. You're like, well, guy, it doesn't get much better than this for a backup corner if you got to run with the ones, and yet it didn't look that great.
The only thing I'll say in his defense is the times that Romeo Dobbs was dunking on him, he had a red non-contact jersey on. So that jump ball goes up, he's trying really hard to make sure he doesn't fall down in on his head.
Yeah.
And if you go back and look at the Dobbs clip that they tweeted, you'll see him there, kind of go up and stop himself, and he gets the catch. He didn't have that on today. So this is not a reflection about why he's a loser today. And I agree with you, because his losses are louder than a lot of these other corners, where even Canada's just been like, if I just didn't clip my fingernails last week, I might have gotten that one.
Yep.
And the good news for them is I think Kindle Vildor, who had the pick at the end of the second and final 2-minute drill for the Eagles today, has really come on the last week, and he's given voice to, though this is sometimes guys, say this and we just don't realize that this is the natural way of performance. It's it's up and down. He's on and up and says yeah, I'm getting more comfortable in the system. That's what's driving this. Who knows? Maybe it's variance. I don't know. But that's at least coinciding with this dip, which is very real for Charles Woods, who also got roasted on that 70-yard touchdown from Maye to Brown 2 days ago. A fine loser. Okay, I'm going to give you one of each really quickly. And my winner is Andy Borregales, who did miss a kick today, but hit both of the field goals from beyond 50 yards at the end of Maye's 2-minute drill, 1 minute, and Tommy DeVito's coincide or combine that with a 4 or 5 showing when they're just in the regular field goal period for a guy who, after the preseason game, I think we saw like raw, uncut Mike Vrabel for the first time in a long time, like pissed, and took a question about, oh, what do you have confidence? Oh, yeah, we'll have to talk about it. Like, okay. And look, we've all had heat of the moment, moments. But
I'm always level-headed. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Today, before practice, he's asked about Andy Borregales' response this week, which has been very good. Something like 9 of 10, 8 of 10, 8 of 12, kicking at the skinny field goal posts, which are half as wide. Like it's pretty damn difficult. And he then remarked, Vrabel did, about the long snapper and like, whoa, he didn't really give the proper context, and new snapper, and it's really important about the operation. You can go back and watch those kicks. The snap was fine.
Yeah.
I think he realized, Vrabel did, and this is an aside, the confidence your kicker has is something that has to be protected, even if you want to be at the front of the line with the torches and pitchforks, which was just kind of amusing because it was just flat out BS. But you know what? If BSing or hyping up or gassing up Andy Borregales works and gets into play like he did today, which was really, really good, sure, fine. Go ahead. Blame it on the guy who got cut and is not even here anymore to take it.
Yeah, I would second that again. We kind of have some of the similar ones that I would say up. It was a good backtrack. I thought Vrabel was very interesting today, and in not some of the greatest ways. What was the, God, I quoted it. I'm not going to find it now. Whatever. Just move on. Go on.
Oh, sorry. I didn't give you a loser.
Yeah.
Baron Morton, like I know why he didn't take a lot of snaps today. He's
right.
a third-string rookie who's going to play a lot on Saturday, but the few snaps he did get were just useless. By the way, the sound that popped up on my end about 5 minutes ago is some other sound comes from somewhere. I think I want to play a game at some point with you. Is this real or a fake? Headline on Patriots.com.
Oh boy.
A credit to our friends, our real friends who work over there, but have to do the sanitized, team-friendly stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't find a good one to pitch you as like a real or fake. But the headline of episode 2 of this Forged in Foxborough behind the scenes, but only what we want to show you series, is pieces falling into place. And I just think that's perfectly vague and nondescript. And anyway, just a tease for a game we're going to play a little bit later on. Last winner and last loser.
I don't think I have any more. I think the defense I just think the defense is pretty well tapped out as to what I gave you. I guess I could say Christian Ellis in the 1 minute drill, some good coverage there, pass breakup, like something you want to see because he runs very well, but sometimes can be a liability in coverage. We liked the way he played the second half of last season, or after about week 6, when we were openly wondering, does he still belong in the starting lineup? And the athleticism is real, and I like it when it looks like that because there are shades of a good football player there.
Real quick on Kevin Byard, I saw him give up a deep ball, and then he had a pass breakup later. But was he in the middle? Was he neutral? Was he bad?
I thought neutral.
Okay.
Yeah, like I didn't notice him a ton. And look, as I was talking about Hurts and the numbers, like he pushed the ball once, and there were a couple of deep comebacks, but like nothing to the middle of the field. So I guess you could say, hey, maybe they showed up in the middle of the field today and prevented Hurts from going there. Or you could look at it and say Jalen Hurts loathes to throw the ball over the middle of the field. That's one of the reasons why A.J. Brown doesn't want to be there anymore. Period. End of story. Are you going to talk to have you talked to Jalen? No. Okay. Play that drop. I love that drop.
I want to see like Tatum come in with a Jalen Hurts jersey sometime soon. Like just two of them got something in common. Anyway, thanks for hopping on. Day 2 is tomorrow. I will not have an episode as long as this one. We will do the 2 minutes from training camp, I think for the last time, because tomorrow will be the last full practice the Patriots are at least required to let us in for. They could do this anytime they want. Most teams do not on the precipice of the regular season and beyond. But we will see next week when they have 2 practices after they play Saturday against Eagles. In the meantime, lots more tweets. I think more fights. There was only one today after the first field goal. Jalen Carter so upset that Andy Borregales missed from 33 yards. He took it out on Andy Borregales' own teammates. Unbelievable. Mike Vrabel, of course, had to get in the middle because that's what Mike Vrabel does. Anyway, you will not get an episode tomorrow. I will have one after the preseason opener. When are you recording next?
Probably after the preseason opener as well. Although if tomorrow is an incredibly eventful day, perhaps I could be inspired. I mean, because if it gets nasty, that gets the juices flowing. I get a little fired up for that. I might want to spout off. So we'll see. But if not tomorrow, definitely at some point on Sunday.
Simmer, Mike. Just
simmer. They're football players, as Mike Vrabel told us today. Football players do football things.
Okay. Media people go do TV things. Go do TV. And thanks for popping by.
Thanks, buddy.